Yo, what's up, people? This is Imtiaz, and welcome to my live stream. So, I want to do something different today. I want to show you behind the scenes how I'm coding and how easy it is now with ChatGPT. Literally, you don't have to code anymore these days. If you're lazy, this is perfect for you. You can use ChatGPT, give it some context, what you're trying to do. Perhaps if you have a project in mind, you could. Um, you could feed that context to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is going to give you the solution. But what you do need to know is how to uh, incorporate some coding into a notebook, your deployment environment. Some of the basic fundamentals is great to know. Now, a lot of people are preaching no code. A lot of people are trying to wait for a no code solution to build their custom GPT, or perhaps just getting started with AI. Now, the problem with that approach is that you're going to fall behind. And a lot of people or a lot of gurus who are preaching this, they're actually hiring AI developers in the back end. If they're not, they want people to at least understand some code, so you can debug where necessary, you can customize where necessary. So it's important whether you're working with an AI developer, if you're an AI business, or whether you want to be an AI developer. This is absolutely important. However, the dynamics have changed. The mental model has changed how you learn coding. I picked up Python about 5 years ago as a data scientist, and I used to think it was really hard to learn coding until I came across a community in Stack Overflow, and then various other areas. So when there's specialized communities trying to do specialized uh, project in a specialized field, it's a lot easier because you get that support. And the cool thing with Python is it's really easy to understand. You just need maybe just a couple lines of code to do a lot of complex things. And functions and packages are built on top of things that have already been done. So it's going to be a lot easier for you now with AI because you don't need to code, you don't need to write anything. You just need to manage it. You need to know whether certain things are right and just put it to work. And I'm going to show you exactly how to get started with Python in this video. We're going to cover some Python fundamentals. I'll cover some content from my course. And then what we're going to do is dive into generative AI, because that's where the flow is now, and people want to learn how to utilize Python to solve several AI problems. And we're going to cover syntax. We're going to cover some Python basics, how to create functions. And we're going to create a small functions with OpenAI. And all this and more. I'm going to start doing a lot of these lives every week. So if you're here and if you want to join, ask some questions, will be great. We can learn together. And this is a very exciting field. If you know Python, you're gonna have superpowers. Honestly, the thing with no-code applications or platforms, you're telling ChatGPT to do something, it's gonna tell you step by step what to do on this. This is also good, but then you still have to create band-aid solutions. You have to tweak this and that. ChatGPT is not going to go in there and create like a Zapier workflow or a Make workflow or none of that. But what it can do is give you code, and that gives you a lot of power because you're one step closer to talking to the AI itself. Talk to the horse's mouth, like just go straight to it, to the source, cut out the middleman, and yeah, you're gonna be you're gonna be all set. Now, let's go ahead and start doing a couple of practice uh, exercises. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me a sec. All right, cool. So I don't know how familiar you are with Python and what deployment environment you use. I use several tools in my toolbox to interact with Python, And you could use Python in your local computer. You can use Python in the cloud. The benefit of using the cloud is that even though if you have like a really crappy machine, you can always kind of pick up your code, scale it in the cloud, so you're not constrained by the resources, and you have a lot of power with the cloud environment. Also, if you're starting out, because there's something called templates. You can get started. Just don't you don't have to worry about the setup or the infrastructure. You get straight into solving the problem. So that's why with a lot of beginner level Python students and a lot of people I've mentored, I get them started with Python using Google Collaboratory. And this is what I typically use. And I use like a template with pretty much text and syntax, sorry, text and code, so that you can understand what you're doing. And then the benefit of having a Google Collaboratory, because this is a notebook format. So you'll notice that there is different cells, and you can run one cell at a time, and just kind of like exercise. You're practicing. When you finish one, you move on to the next one, and it makes learning a lot more easier and streamlined. So what we're gonna do is, so I have a couple of courses. It's still in the works, but 90% done. We'll cover Python fundamentals. This is for my course, Python for Generative AI, and we cover Python fundamentals, but also we'll give you just the right amount of Python you need to start solving problems with generative AI, start working with functions, start working with APIs. That will be very important. And another course, which is a little bit more advanced Python, not advanced, I would say intermediate, which would be Python for OpenAI Assistant. So those two courses will be out pretty soon, will be announced in this channel. So let's go ahead and get started with Python fundamentals. So I'm not going to teach you Python. I think we'll be it's a better use of both of our time if we both learn together. So I have this notebook already. I'll share this with you in the school community. But the benefit of having this notebook, you can do it, and you can like do this in your own time. But seeing me how I work with this will give you an idea of like how I think, how to model some of the people who are already using it, and then you can go back and play around with it as well. So we can start with some basic fundamentals with Google Collaboratory. So you'll notice that every block you can create either a code block or a text. And we can get started with coding, a code block. And if you're new to Python, this is the initiation code. You should always start with hello world. And this is what I started with, in my own journey. And I was pretty impressed, because I was like, wait, you can print a command and the computer is going to say exactly what you want it to say. So it was eye-opening for me. So we're going to say print hello world. This is usually the way it's formatted. Use the print function, put it inside the brackets, and then quotation. Control enter. It's gonna take a while, a little bit. I'm kind of streaming at the same time, so this is my first time also streaming. I noticed that there is a little bit of lag or delay, so don't let that restrain you. Notice, it just printed out the output. Print hello world. Now you can say anything. Print I am the best coder in the world. I mean, nowadays ChatGPT is pretty much your best friend when it comes to coding. So you don't really need to code. You could get away by saying you're a coder. There's a lot of people. I'm seeing a lot of people in my community as well, never coded, but with ChatGPT, they just in a couple of months they're like an expert coder. So it's really easy. The first step is usually the hardest. So yeah, so you're done with printing, and the second powerful tool that you need to understand is variables. You can create variables and assign it into. You can put a text like the same text that we put here, "Hello world." You could take this text, you could copy this and put it right here, and that gets saved into a variable called name. Now let's comment this out. To comment it, it's Control Enter. So when you press Control Enter, you're commenting it out. You can also add comments by just saying this is a comment, this is a comment, and then control backslash, and yeah, that's commented out. Now you could print out the name variable just like that. Hello world. So see how easy that was. Yeah, let me know what you want to learn in Python. Let me know what you're struggling with. It's a lot easier if you have awareness in terms of what your weak points are, because you can always compensate those things with ChatGPT. Because as long as you understand, what you need to work with, how you can improve, you can definitely work with ChatGPT to fill in any gaps. Now, let me show you this. ChatGPT, okay? This is ChatGPT. Well, let me use ChatGPT, the uh, ChatGPT 4. Okay. All right, let's just put this here. Put this out. All right. Now, check this out. Check this out. ChatGPT 4, I use it. I literally use it like Google these days. Now, granted, it's generative AI. It's not going to give like the most accurate answers all the time. It's going to make up a lot of stuff. When it comes to coding, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. You should have assistants, like AI assistants, literally, like with anything you do. Yeah, nowadays, whether it's marketing, content creation, coding, I use mostly for coding, but it's just so powerful. It saves you so much time. All right, so coming back to ChatGPT, let me show you how it can write code for you. So let's just say you are an expert Python coder. I am learning beginner level Python. Give me a starter code to create a variable and print it out. Check this out. It's already generating the responses, what you need to do. Similarly, it gave me another example, and I could just copy this, go back to my notebook, create another block here, and just paste this here. Now we can just run this. Hello world, greeting. So it's the same thing. It's going to give you the same code. You just have to know what you want to do. Like having that awareness and clarity is key. All right, let's get rid of this. Let's move on to operators. Okay, knowing how to do simple, calculations is great. Just understand that there are operators, and you can use calculations within your workflow. I'm not going to go too into details. You can play around with this in your own time. Control flow. This is a very important element. Control flow. So it's conditional statements, if or else. And, you know, the great thing with control flow, now you can, and we use this a lot with generative AI, or building OpenAI assistants. So when we're building OpenAI assistants, we are trying to see what the assistant is giving us back, and based on what we get back, we perform certain kind of operations on top of it. So same with API calls. So you get an API. API is pretty much you're sending a call, like you're making an order. Hey, I want this kind of data. Give me this data. When you get this data back from an external source, you might get it in a certain format. We use the control flow by checking to see, well, first we check whether we got the data first. If we get the data, then we return the data, something like that. If we don't get the data, we say some kind of error. So you can handle these kind of things with the control flow. So like if age is greater than 18, print adult. So notice here, age is a variable, just like a variable we've created earlier, but we didn't really define the variable. So so I can show you what's gonna happen if we run the code and we get an error. And the error exactly is what I thought, age is not defined. So we need to define this variable like this. Age equals to, let's just say 22. All right. And it's printing an adult. What if we say 15? Print minor. So it's handling the conditions based on what's stored in that variable. That's how I defined how the control flow is going to work. All right. So see how powerful, see how much power you now have by just knowing the simple fundamentals of Python. Okay, so you don't have to do crazy things with Python. All you have to know is the basics. If you know how to, read just a little bit, know and understand how control loops work, how operators work, data types, all that kind of stuff, it'll save you so much time in the long run. Because when you're building AI apps, and the AI developer gives you a bunch of code, and now you're responsible for that code. You're running like $1 million companies with a piece of AI code, which is the heart of your company, and you don't know anything about Python. It's gonna hold you back, and it's going to put you at risk because things are moving pretty fast, and it's gonna give you a lot of momentum to solve these problems. Now, let's not worry about loops now. Let's go to functions. Now, this is the key. This is the key, functions. And even in my course, I've included a section just for functions because we use this so much when we're building OpenAI assistants. Functions is a critical component of OpenAI assistants, especially when you're trying to build tools. Because as you know, when we're building tools, we basically specify a function. And the great thing about OpenAI assistants is that it's able to call these functions. Okay, so you can write any kind of function you can think about and then feed it into the assistant, and the assistant will be able to call these functions. As long as produce generative text, it can run functions, and functions could be anything. Really, let's just say you want to scrape Instagram profiles and get all the profile names. You can wrap all this in a function. The input could be the Instagram profile. The input could be like a custom. Sorry, not a custom. It could be like a hashtag or something like that. And the output will be all the Instagram profiles associated with the hashtag, something like that. Well, this is exactly what function, for the most part, it is. Let me go to my course here. I'll give you the straight up example, the definition. Functions are an essential part of Python programming. They allow you to encapsulate a set of instructions and reuse them multiple times throughout your code. Functions promote code reusability, modularity, readability, making your programs more organized and maintainable. Okay, so you have a function definition. To define a function in Python, you use the def keyword followed by the function name, parentheses, parameters, if any. And then inside the function block, you use you basically define what the function is going to do. And then at the end, you're going to return the value. So let's go back here. This is a simple function. We define the function with the def keyword. This is the name of the function, greet, and the name is the parameter of the function. So parameters are any input text, input numbers, or something like that. And then we use a string formatting. We'll cover string formatting as well on my Python course. But understand that string formatting allows you to produce formatted text, like hello, and then we replace the name aspect with whatever name we provide as the input parameter. So we're defining the greeting function here. And then to run a function, all you have to do is just put the function name, and inside parentheses, you put in the parameter, and it's going to return out the output. So let's just check it out. Greet Alice. Let's see what happens. Greet is not defined. Just like before, we forgot to run this code. So be very comfortable running, understanding and reading errors. Now, this is a key component nowadays, or even when I started coding 5 years ago, is whenever I saw error, it really, really scared me. I was like, wow, what did I do wrong? Because it looks scary. It looks really scary. But just like anything in life, you have to hit roadblocks to understand how to navigate certain situations. So when you hit an error, you're going to know how to solve it. And this is with hundreds and thousands of iteration. You can, it's like a second nature what to do next. So yeah, you have to be very comfortable knowing the errors and then knowing how to navigate those. Because it's not really errors, it's just directions for you to fix your code. Okay, so greet is not defined. All right, so it's an easy fix. We run the code. Now it's defined. Now we already kind of called the function here, so now we get the response back. Now let's just say in this block we say, instead of Alice, we say Bob. Hello, Bob. Okay, so this is the most simplest example I can give you that shows you how functions work with the input, first by defining it, then providing the definition of the function, first by defining it, then assigning the inputs, and then being able to run the function. So this is very important. Now you know a big part of Python coding, which is function. And then if you know functions, you're all set with creating more complex functions with OpenAI assistants. And that's really the meat of building OpenAI assistants, is creating functions and then being able to deploy your OpenAI assistants. So let's go ahead and I'm going to save the OpenAI assistant creation for another day. Let me know what you want to learn more of. Do you want to learn more of generative AI? Do you want to learn more of OpenAI assistants? Do you want to learn just Python fundamentals? All this and more will be covered in the Python course. But staying within that topic of creating functions. Now let me do something Fun. Let's go back to the OpenAI documentation. OpenAI documentation. All right. Go to API reference. You should always use this as a guide. Um, this should really be your in your back pocket when you're trying to build assistants, create generative AI code, whatever, whatnot. So there's a lot of features here, and OpenAI does a really good job, really um, putting it in different sections, getting started, endpoints, assistants. Not going to cover assistants here. We'll talk about, let's say, the chat completion. Okay. So chat completion, let's go ahead and, well, it's still probably going to be a little bit complex, but I think we can work with this. All right, let's copy this. All right. Now, when you're running Google Collaboratory notebooks, notice this in this one, I already did this. You have to install the packages all over again. It's not persistent like your local computer, where you install one of the packages once and it stays in your machine. With Google Collaboratory, it's um, it's you have to run it every time. But that's fine because the only package we need here is OpenAI, and we just install this package with pip install OpenAI. Now, another thing you have to pay attention to. So, what is packages? If you're not familiar with packages, it's pretty much a bunch of functions packaged up together. And OpenAI, they have all these functions from the documentation you can see here. They packaged it all up into one convenient package called OpenAI. And this is the standard way to install it. And then we're going to import the OpenAI function from the package called OpenAI. And client equals to OpenAI. So I already kind of established this right here. Right, the way I import the way I assign API keys, this is more secure way to do this in Google Collaboratory. They give you a secure key area where you just plug in your API key. It stays in your notebook, and pretty much you um, assign your OpenAI key, user data, blah blah blah. Using this function, assign the API keys. All right, so you have to get to this point where you get a client. Client object, and within that object, it has to be authenticated with an OpenAI. So when you get a client object, let's just see how it looks like. Let's just see if everything runs correctly. Okay, didn't. The API key must be set by passing. Okay. All right. Okay. Notice what I did here already. If you can spot the mistake, I'll let you see this code really quick, and see if you can spot what I did wrong. Now, great thing with Python coding or Google Collaboratory notebooks in general, if you get an error, so here's what you need to know when you get error anytime. The error message, you have to know how to read the error message, because sometimes you'll get errors not just once, many times. And if you've dealt with the error before, you'll know how to deal with it again. So I would start with reading the message and then also the line number. Now, you cannot see the line number here, but I believe you can. Da, da, da. Yeah, I forgot the setting. So to let you see the line number, but I'll figure it out. I'll share with you soon. But anyways, you'll see the line number, and then you go back to that line, which is in this case line 2, client OpenAI. So already there was a mistake, but because I knew how to really authenticate with my API key from my previous experience, I know that this is wrong. So I'm gonna get rid of this since I already have a client OpenAI already established. So we'll run this, grant access. Okay, so when you see the green checkbox, that means the block has ran successfully. This is great because let's look at the client object. Let's see what it looks like. OpenAI.openai. So this is good. You now have an authenticated client object, and you can use this client object in so many different ways. Whether you want to build assistants, whether you want to create generative AI functions, a lot of cool ways you can do this. So we take this client object, all right. Now completion, print completion. Let's run this part. So what it's doing is the client is that object we've established, and then chat completions create. Chat completions create. This is the method or the function that they have created for us. Some of the parameters here, model, messages, etc., etc. All this is already there, the formatting, the template. You just need to plug in the necessary elements. You can switch the models. We'll use GPT 3.5. It's not the best, but it gets a lot of job done. Now, in my course, I'm going to teach you several kind of functions you can create that takes an input, produces an output. That takes an input, processes it with generative AI, or maybe produce some generative AI text, returns the output, something like that. And when you're building OpenAI assistants, you're going to be using a lot of this code or a lot of generative AI to, let's say you have an OpenAI assistant that sends emails. Okay, so what you want to do is also know how to create a formatter. So the assistant, before sending out the email, is going to format the email. So the way you make a formatter is similarly to this. You just have to encapsulate this code into a function. So it's going to take in the input prompt, then format it within the body of the function, and then return out the output. Okay, and then you can take that output and send it back to the user when you're building that OpenAI assistant. So in this case, we are just playing around. I'm assuming you're a beginner Python coder, so I'm not going to get into too many details, but we're just going to show you how to run this really quick. And all right, let's just run it. Okay, let's stop talking for a little bit and let's just run it, because you might be thinking, Imtiaz, you talk so much. Why didn't you just show me the projects and all that? So part of it, what I'm also trying to do is, get you in the mind frame of thinking while you code. Don't just copy paste code from ChatGPT, because a lot of people do that. I do that too. I do that too nowadays when I'm like really tired. But sometimes when you're thinking, it helps you make even better solutions, not just copy paste the code that's given to you. All right, let's run. All right, what is it giving me? Chat completion message content. Hello, how can I assist you today? Role assistant. This is great. So notice what happened here. The first, so there's a model parameter, and then there's a message parameter. Inside the message parameter, you can assign the role. Well, actually, so you can put in the first line here, role, system, content. This would be the instructions or like the system prompt, if you might say, for like the task in hand. So you are a helpful assistant. You can change this to anything you want. Like you are a food blogger, let's say. Now it's going to take up that personality. It's going to take up that context, or it's going to take up that role, or certain thing like that. So we need is give ChatGPT, put that, put ChatGPT in a costume, like like assuming a certain role. It's going to perform that task a lot better. All right. So you are a food blogger. Hello. But now let's just say instead of asking, so the second line here is user content. So within that message object, it's going to save your message or your first question as the user's question, and the output that's going to come back is the assistant's response, right? So let's just say hello. Let's say recommend me. Well, actually, this is inside the quotation. You want to say recommend me a dish in Hanoi, Vietnam. Check this out. It's giving me a response back, assuming the role of an expert food blogger. This is great. Just with a few lines of code, you see the benefits of using chat completions or generative AI within your framework, within your code base, or whatever problem you're trying to solve. You can just plug this in and get its power. So one popular dish you must try in Hanoi, Vietnam is pho, delicious noodle soup consisting of broth, rice noodles. I actually love pho. I went to Vietnam 2 years ago, and it's just it's just it's just amazing. It's like tacos in Mexico. You go to a street vendor and they just give you pho. It's like somebody's house, literally, and then they have like a table in front. We just sit down, and then the grandmother comes out with the pho, and you're just sitting there with all the locals, and you're eating pho, and they use like tools, like this small tools, not tools, it's like a chair. So you're just sitting there eating your pho, and then probably if you don't understand Vietnamese, you're not gonna understand anything what they're saying, but just that whole atmosphere and vibe, it's just amazing. But anyways, going off topic here, um, you can definitely use this. This is the meat and potatoes of generative AI. If you know how to use this, you can use it in any application. Okay, check this out. A lot of you want to create email formatter, or want to create, let's say, an assistant that's able to format an email and send it out to, let's say, your leads or to your customers or whatever. So what we're generally doing is creating an assistant and also formatting, the output, so that it looks like really professionally written. So how do you do this? You basically say, instead of you are a food blogger, now you say you are an expert email writer. Check this out. This is even amazing. With over 30 years of experience. When you're really specific, if you have good prompt engineering skills, see, a lot of people don't use ChatGPT like they're supposed. A lot of people use ChatGPT out of the box, which is a big mistake, because monkey see, monkey do. So if you're giving it crap, it's gonna return out crap. So you have to know exactly how to talk to the assistant or ChatGPT, so that it gives you the response that you need. And now in my course, I talk about some prompt engineering techniques that I personally use and a lot of experts use to make sure your output is formatted, so your prompt is formatted correctly. And this could be the deal breaker with when you're making OpenAI assistants. It's not returning things from the knowledge base. It's returning the output in a really weird way. It's not asking questions. It's producing a lot of bullet points, things that you don't want. You can correct it with prompt engineering. So, anyways, uh, that's for another lesson. But in this case, I've shown you how to get started with Python. It's not as scary as you think. A lot of people are, when they hear the word Python, they get scared. I want you to think about Python as your best friend when it comes with AI, because if you let Python strangle you, then you're going to fall behind in generative AI and just in your AI business. This is going to be the heart of your business. So you have to know how to read just the basic fundamentals. And even if you're working with the AI developer, they're giving you a bunch of code and you're letting it strangle you, it's going to hurt you. And you're going to fall behind with all the development efforts that are happening these days. And a lot of people, this is what they're doing, honestly. They're going to ChatGPT. Well, let me go back here. Yeah, they're going to ChatGPT, customizing the GPT. There's actually GPTs that are specifically uh, made to write Python code. There's GPTs that are assume the role of an AI developer. So if you have like a problem in mind, you can tell it to write the code, and you just be the manager. Saves you tons of time. I don't write any code these days because it's pointless. Why would you write code? Um, let's just say, okay, check this out. Let's let's have fun with this. Uh, so I just created this whole solution right here. I'm going to uncomment all the code so it runs everything from top to bottom. Just copy this, give ChatGPT some context what I've done so far. And now I say, all right, encapsulate this in a function. The input should be the prompt and the output should be the message back that back from yeah, the message. So you can be as vague as you want. You don't have to be too direct, clear, and see the power of ChatGPT. Just taking the code that you gave it, it's encapsulating it into a function, just like we want it to do. Check this out. It's giving you exactly the code that you need. We covered functions. What do we talk about? How do we define the functions? You use a DEF, name of the functions, and then the parameter. That's exactly what they did. I don't have to write it. ChatGPT wrote it. And if you're writing or if you're building no-code solutions, what's gonna hurt you is ChatGPT is not gonna write you a make template. It's not gonna write you a Zapier template. You still have to go in, make those templates one by one. Something breaks, God forbid, you'd have to get an expert. But with Python, you're talking right to the computer. You're talking straight to the source. Something breaks, you copy all that code, you paste it here, tell ChatGPT to figure out what the issue is, and it's going to tell you. And it's getting better and better each day. So I think it's 90% there, but there's still some limitations. I'll talk about the limitations in another live session. If you're liking this session so far, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to my channel if you've not already not. And let me know in the questions what you want to learn. If you want to learn Python basics, Python for generative AI. If you want to compare and contrast between different GPT models, I know Cloud is out, the latest version. Gemini, then GPT. All these are great. I've kind of tested all of them, and I've bookmarked them as well so that I use it for different use cases. Like cloud is really good. I've actually like when I built this course out, I've actually don't tell everyone, but I've actually incorporated some GPT advice or from cloud to help me write some of the content because it's really good when it comes to content creation and really creating structures, organizing your text. Cloud is really good for that. GPT, on the other hand, is really good with coding. Like when it comes to code, I use ChatGPT more for my coding needs. For content creation, definitely cloud is really good. And yeah, so yeah, let me know what you want to learn. There's a lot of exciting developments these days, and if you know exactly what each model does, how it differentiates from each other, what's the benefit and what's the pros and cons, you can use it and just get ahead of the competition. Okay, so what do we talk about? All right, so we've covered a lot of topics in this session, and we can go into more in depth in terms of building assistants and building more complex functions. But we'll leave it in another session. I'm going to do this um, pretty frequently, picking Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Wednesdays or Fridays. So let me know when you're available. I know a lot of people are at work, so it's really hard to come into coding sessions. And I'll try to make this more consistent, and we can create some unique projects together. So, yeah, thank you for joining this session, and really appreciate you watching this live or after the live. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more content like this. If you found it valuable, definitely watch this space. There's a lot of things that we're going to be doing, and it's very exciting. And you're sitting on a gold mine. You don't even know it, but you will, with AI and just the other day, I was actually playing around with this new AI tool that lets you call people with AI. You could say, "This is the number to call. This is the task. I want you to make an appointment," and it's going to do that. Give you the transcript back. It's just crazy. You don't. Like I honestly think like, do people really need a team? Like, gone are the days where you need like a human resource, a support team, a finance, and all that kind of stuff. What you do need is specialized AI agents that does specialized things for your company. And as long as you have clarity and know and vision where you're trying to go, and you create AI agents around that vision, and it's going to be a lot more efficient. Now, I'm not saying it's going to take your job. Don't get scared, because a lot of people, when they think about AI, they have like a negative connotation. My friend, she makes a lot of content, like does content creation, and videos, and a videographer. So she saw Sora and immediately had a bad reaction to it, like, oh no, not the human element. It takes away the human element and all that kind of stuff. But my thoughts are, don't use AI to replace human jobs. Use AI to make it even better. So think about this. I'm not wasting time coding anymore. I know some coding. I know how to get by. I'm definitely not an expert, but knowing enough is enough these days. Like, when you stay within your labels, you're gonna fall behind. And yeah, so now let's say you create an AI agent with who does development for you. you're managing it every now and then, giving you what you need, and it's just amazing. Like, do you really need a company? I mean, yeah, very soon you just need to have agents, and that's going to be the reality for a lot of companies who are not using AI, who's still sleeping on AI. It's going to be a rude awakening when they realize that the AI can do it better um, than their um, than their best performer or whatever in their company. So, anyways, it's not doom and gloom. Just understand that it's a new environment. It's a new kind of um, situation that we're dealing with, and the only way you can survive is if you adapt to the changing times. Change your mental models around coding. Change your mental models around uh, you know AI, and understand that it's going to be a lot powerful. Make it your best friend and use it in your day-to-day problems. So anyways, talked a lot. We'll see you in the next video, and make sure you like, subscribe, and follow for more. Peace.